So the J chorus is described as simulates the vintage chorus sound from a Roland Jazz Chorus JC 120 amplifier. Roland and Boss, very well known for their choruses. Think of the Boss CE2, which I used to own and sold. The entire internet will call me crazy for selling a CE2 and buying a cheap modulation pedal, but I could get more money for the CE2 and I wasn't a huge fan of it, to be honest. Not really my thing. But anyway, I digress. So this is one of the effects on other demos where I've seen them demo it, but they've just put the controls in just unusable places. So I'm going to kind of stay within where it's usable. I might, I'll push it further out than I would use it. I like very subtle modulation, but I'll push it out a bit further because I know other people will want to use a bigger or a wider sound. So this is mix and depth at 12 and rate at 0 essentially. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'll push the rate up to 9 o'clock. Let's push the mix up to 3 o'clock. And we can just hear how that sounds. Let's put the depth down a little bit. We'll push the rate up. And we'll push the mix all the way up, so there'll be no dry signal now. Yeah, so that for me there is totally unusable. That's just way too much of an effect. I think the issue there was the depth more than anything, so if we just pull the depth back to 9 o'clock, I don't think the rate was too bad. Obviously we've increased the mix, so... Okay, I'm going to push the rate up just to show you the sound, but this isn't something that I would use it for. And I'll keep the depth at 9 o'clock, so, not really, on most pedals this would still be quite a subtle sound. Obviously the quality of this pedal means it's, not quite as good, but... Okay. So let's get this somewhere more where I would like to use it. So that's an alright sound. For me it's still too chorusy and too quick, so I'll back the mix off and I'll back the rate off a bit as well. So yeah, that's okay. Let's try it with some drive actually, because that's quite popular. I'll use the full tone MOSFET 2. I might show you my settings. So what I'm going to do is just back the mix off to just over halfway. I like the rate where it is. Just pull the depth down a little bit. Lovely. So yes, that's more where I would kind of use it. Probably not with drive. but quite a subtle setting. And yeah, with the rate at 9 o'clock, you can afford to push the depth. If I push the mix up, so there you go, make of it what you will. So T chorus is produces a warm chorus sound modulated by a triangle wave, and mixed depth rate. All the controls do what they say they do. So let's get into this. I'll leave the settings where they were for the J chorus, and we can just hear the difference. That's the T chorus. So the T chorus feels a bit more subtle and smooth. Smooth is the wrong word, but it's not quite as deep as the J chorus. Yeah, that's probably the best way to describe it. A little bit more subtle. So let's just play with the controls a bit. So that's kind of, you know, unusable for me. I mean, you can really get I don't know why a manufacturer would even include that sound, but it's there. Let's just try mix all the way up, rate all the way up, depth all the way down. I mean, I suppose that setting could be useful if you're doing some volume swells. Again, still way too much for me. That's probably the limit for me in terms of the rate. That's starting to get a bit more like a Leslie. I've got no idea what you play through a Leslie. But that's quite a usable setting for a lot of people. Again, I don't really have a context for that. Let's push the depth up, just see how far we can move that before it gets too much. That's pretty good for me. The rate's definitely not past 12 o'clock. The depth, maybe not even at 12 o'clock. Okay, so moving on, we'll go to the Detune setting, which, in all honesty, I don't know why they've included a Detune setting when there's two choruses on there. but it must do something different. So Detune mixes dry signal with a slightly pitch shifting sound to produce a chorus-like effect. So the controls on this one change a bit. So your mix level controls the dry signal level. The depth control, I guess it just says depth, so I'm assuming that's the depth of the detune. And then the rate control actually controls the wet signal. So let's just put the depth all the way at max. Well, let's take the dry signal out and we'll max out the wet signal. So this is, I guess, the most extreme the effect could get. Cool, so that's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. I'm just going to bring the dry level up to halfway and back off the wet level a little bit. Let's actually just make them even. See what that sounds like. Put a bit of reverb on there and a bit of delay. So you can hear there's a bit of a volume drop at the minute because I'm only running the mix and the dry signal halfway. So let's just max that out, and we'll max out the wet signal as well, and just hopefully there'll be no volume drop. So clean. Okay, so there you go. There's no volume drop really when your level is maxed out. Just pull the wet signal down a bit. Lovely. I won't bother bringing the depth back. That's quite a subtle effect, so if you get one of those, you can do that yourself. Okay, so we move on to flange.